on the court and be like, let's do it.
For 8 months, one of the most talked about players in basketball was completely out of sight. No games. No highlights. Just questions. Was Caitlin Clark still the same player who changed the attention around women's basketball? Or had the long injury layoff taken something away? But when Team USA gathered in Miami for a short, intense training camp, something happened that immediately caught the attention of coaches, players, and fans. Because the early footage from practice showed something very different from what many people expected. And the reaction inside the gym? It spread fast. Especially when stars like Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese, and veteran leader Breanna Stewart saw it firsthand. This wasn't just a normal training camp. It was the first real glimpse of what this new Team USA could become. And at the center of it all was Caitlin Clark. 2 days. That was all Team USA had to prepare before heading to Puerto Rico for international competition. Not weeks. Not months. Just 2 days. And while the roster looked powerful on paper, the biggest challenge wasn't talent. It was chemistry. These players came from different systems, different teams, and different playing styles. Even great players need time to learn each other's rhythm. Where the pass should arrive. When someone cuts. Who rotates on defense? Every drill in Miami suddenly carried more weight. Because once the tournament began, there would be no time to figure things out. But inside this larger story, one player drew a different kind of attention. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another star in camp. She was returning to competitive basketball after an 8-month absence. And when a player sits out that long, everyone watches closely. Not just the shots. But the movement. The speed. The decision-making. Would she look hesitant? Rusty? Or unsure? Instead, the first practice clips revealed something else entirely. Clark didn't look cautious. She looked aggressive. In one sequence that quickly circulated online, Clark pushed the ball in transition. She didn't slow down. She didn't hesitate. Instead, she directed traffic like someone who had never left the court. Pointing. Calling for spacing. Setting the pace of the possession. That moment might seem small. But to coaches and players, it said everything. Because rust usually appears before confidence. And Clark didn't look rusty. She looked ready. And that's when the energy inside the gym started to change. Players began to see the possibilities. What happens when a passer like Clark shares the floor with scorers like Paige Bueckers? What happens when rebounders and defenders like Angel Reese become part of that same system? For the first time, the pieces of this roster started to feel real. Not just names on a list. But combinations. Possibilities. A system beginning to take shape. One reason the adjustment moved quickly was the presence of veteran leadership. Few players understand international basketball better than Breanna Stewart. Her role in this camp went far beyond scoring points. Veterans accelerate learning. Sometimes with just a quick comment between drills. Sometimes by setting the standard for effort and focus. For younger players entering the national team environment, those small moments can shorten the learning curve dramatically. And for someone returning from injury like Clark? They help rebuild competitive instincts faster. Of course, the attention around this roster wasn't just about basketball. It also carried some of the biggest rivalries in recent women's sports. The competitive tension between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese dates back to their unforgettable battles during the NCAA tournaments. Their matchup during the 2023 NCAA Women's Basketball Championship became one of the most watched moments in the history of women's college basketball. Reese's famous "You Can't See Me" celebration went viral. Clark's deep shooting turned her into a national phenomenon. And the media turned their rivalry into one of the defining storylines of the sport. But now? They were teammates. Working toward the same goal. International basketball moves faster than many players expect. There's less time. Less space. And fewer chances to recover from mistakes. Talent alone doesn't win these tournaments. Timing does. Trust does. The teams that succeed are the ones who recognize each other's tendencies immediately. And that's exactly what this camp was trying to accelerate. What makes Clark unique isn't just her scoring. It's her ability to speed up the entire offense. Her vision changes how defenders move. Her shooting stretches defenses far beyond the three-point line. And when that kind of gravity exists on the floor, everything opens up. Cutting lanes. Transition opportunities. Extra spacing for teammates. Suddenly, the offense becomes harder to predict. And much harder to stop. But one question still remains. Looking great in practice is one thing. Doing it under tournament pressure is another. Once the games begin, the pace gets faster. The defense gets tighter. And the stakes become real. Can Clark maintain that same rhythm? Can she balance aggression with team structure? That's where the real test begins. This roster isn't interesting because of one player. It's interesting because of how many different strengths exist within it. Playmakers, scorers, defenders, rebounders. The challenge is finding balance. But if that balance forms quickly, this team could become one of the most dangerous groups in international basketball. The camp in Miami is now over. The preparation is done. And the next step begins in Puerto Rico. That's where the real answers appear. Because tournaments reveal what practice cannot. They reveal which teams truly trust each other. For Caitlin Clark, this moment represents more than just a comeback. It's proof that after months away, she still belongs at the center of the biggest stages in basketball. And for Team USA, the early signs from Miami suggest something important. The pieces are starting to connect. And if they continue building that rhythm, this story might just be getting started. If you want the real stories behind the WNBA headlines, the moments cameras miss, and the rivalries shaping the future of women's basketball, make sure you subscribe and stay locked in. Because this season, the biggest story in the sport may only be beginning.